Dana, you mentioned that you had an announcement to make once Nick got up here.
Yeah, I'm going to let you guys ask Nick all the questions you want to ask him, and then I'll do it. You guys don't ask Nick questions?
I got one for Nick, I guess.
Okay.
Nick, right after the bout, you called out George St. Pierre. You were pretty fired up in calling out George. You mentioned that, potentially, he may have been scared or he was faking the injury. Can you expand on that?
I was supposed to fight George St. Pierre, not BJ Penn, and that's when my face looks banged up right now because it's discouraging to have your fight canceled and then, back and forth about just everything. I do what I'm told, but it was hard to find a motivation that I needed to come 100% and to want to do this. It's hard. I don't mean to sit here and make excuses all day, but that was the fight that I was looking for. And like I said it before, I thought maybe I didn't mean to give myself all kinds of credit or act like I'm something or because apparently I'm not too important. But I think that if I were in his position, I would have wanted to fight the Strikeforce champion. They made a whole big deal out of that, unifying the titles, and and it was after a while I realized, man, I'm fooling myself thinking I'm somebody here. So, because apparently he didn't think that it was important to fight against me, rather fight, he'd rather have a different, he'd rather fight Carlos Condit, or I would have said, hey, I'm gonna fight. I always want to go for the best fights. That's why I'm always calling out George St. Pierre. I don't have anything against George St. Pierre. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's a nice guy, just like everybody else. And he's a great role model. I would love to be that too if I was in that position. I just unfortunately haven't ever had the opportunity and the right people behind me to push me to be that type of that type of fighter or that type of role model or what you like to see.
Dana, is the Condit GSP fight still on, and has Diaz earned the right to fight GSP?
Well, let me put it this way. I've known George St. Pierre since 2004, and he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and he's always, exactly the same no matter what the situation is, no matter who he's fighting. Since 2004, I've never seen him like he was tonight. George St. Pierre flipped out tonight after Nick Diaz was in the ring. And Nick needs motivation. He's got it. He's going to fight George St. Pierre. Carlos Condit has agreed to step aside and get the next guy. He said that Nick, I quote, you're going to think I'm full of shit, but this is the truth. I quote, he's the most disrespectful human being I've ever met, and I'm going to put the worst beating you've ever seen on him in the UFC, is what George St. Pierre said. And we called Carlos Condit, he's agreed, he stepped aside, and he wants to fight on that same card. So we're hoping to do this thing Super Bowl weekend in Las Vegas. There you go.
See, I gotta come off just to get a fight. I gotta come off like that just to get a fight in this, you know what I'm saying? I gotta be the bad guy, you will point the finger, make me the bad guy, I'm the bad guy, now I get a fight.
It worked.
Nick, I want to ask you about that then. I mean, it's Karen. Hey, I personally don't think you have to be the bad guy though, because you do have so many fans. So why do you feel that people are against you? Because I feel like a lot of people.
I'm in this fight because everybody wants to see me take an ass whooping right about now. So all right, I'm ready. I'll take my ass whooping. I already worked for it. I'll take my ass whooping. I'll take my money, and I'll go home.
See, because I see that people think it's going to be a great fight. I mean, tonight you did to BJ kind of what GSP did to Koscheck in terms of jabbing stuff. But to me, sitting here watching...
He did to BJ what nobody's ever done to BJ 10 years in this sport.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe you're misunderstanding that you actually do have a great fan base that actually wants to see you excel, not see you fail. Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, last question to you then. I know you're dissatisfied with your camp and you're unhappy about things. Does that mean some things might change, or you might, for the GSP camp, maybe train differently, get new people? What do you think you'll do?
No, I'm not unhappy with my camp. I love my camp. I love my training partners. You know, they are, they gotta do them too. You know what I mean? It's about time they, you know, everybody needs to do them. You know, it's we all equally working the same. We're all trying to you know, to excel at the next level, and it's not their fault. I just think that you know, they can get more credit for helping me out, and they can you know, they can be more compensated for all the work that they do to help me out. And if they were, then people would recognize that, and I would have a better and you know, a stronger team behind me. And but you know, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have the strongest team. You know, considering my circumstances through this whole, you know, fight life that I've been living, I wouldn't be here without, you know, Jake Shields, Gilbert Melendez, and Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. This ain't just me. This is them too. This is my little brother. This is Cesar Gracie. This is Jake Shields. Another thing is too, you know, that was a bad call on the last fight, Jake Shields. You know, I said, what happens? You know, you take a knee. What are you gonna stand there and take knees? No, you're gonna go for the takedown. You're gonna go down. You're gonna eat more knees. Next thing you know, this kid's doing these little panicky rabbit punches, scares the referee. Referee jumps, tackles my partner. Okay, what's he gonna do? Flip out because the ref's tackling him? The ref gets off him. Said, you know, he's telling him, hey, I wasn't out. You know what I'm saying? Jake gets hit with stuff like that all day. I never seen him, you know, never seen hurt. You see Dan Henderson knock him down. Where's he go? He's not going to stand there and take more punches. He goes straight down. Because let's see you jump on him, try to finish him, and control him on the ground. Ain't going to happen. You don't want to do that, you know. This kid jumps on him, hits with little rabbit punches. Then the referee stops it. It's a bad call.
Question to Dana. Dana?
Yep, go ahead.
Steve? So,
I can hear you.
what do you think about Japanese fighters' performance last 2 months? And Yushin Okami lost, Takanori Gomi lost, and Mizugaki win. He got a win, but very, you know, complicated judgment. And then, how important put the Japanese fighter in the UFC right now?
What's the final question? How important is it for Japanese fighters?
Yeah, for you.
How important is it for us to have Japanese fighters?
Yeah.
I don't look at people whether they're Japanese or Brazilian or whatever it is. We're looking for the best fighters in the world. And this is where, you know, it's the place, the sport is very international. We're going global, and we want all the best fighters, no matter who they are or where they're from, whether they're Japanese or not. And I still think that Yushin Okami is one of the best fighters in the world.
How about other 3 fighters' performance in the UFC?
Their performance?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, whether you're Japanese, Brazilian, Croatian, or whatever it is, it's a tough place to fight. All the best fighters in the world fight here, from all over the world. You know, I wouldn't point out at one certain, you know, spot on the map and say, oh, these guys aren't doing well, those guys aren't doing well. You know, these divisions are tough, and all the toughest fighters in the world are here, and it's tough to stay here. I don't think I answered your question, but I tried.
Dana, could you talk about the conversation with Carlos, how that went? And you said he was willing to step aside. Was he really given a choice or more of a direct?
Of course. I didn't call him up to say, hey, you know, I like Carlos Condit. I respect him, you know, and yeah, he's getting the title shot. He'll get the next shot at the guy, and he just said he wants to fight on that card too. So he's going to fight on that card. It was a good conversation.
What if you were to lose in that fight?
That would suck.
All right. Makes sense. And if I can follow up with Nick real quick, Nick, obviously you talked about the difficulties of finding proper training partners, and they need to be compensated. Pardon my ignorance, but isn't that something that's usually taken care of by the fighter or in his camp? I mean, who should be compensating those guys, and what's the fix to that problem?
I don't know, maybe there's not enough money in the sport, man. You got Floyd Mayweather making $25 million. He can't stop the double leg. I had to go to school to learn how to do that shit. I had to go, I had to work hard, and I had to study every aspect. And that's what we're doing out here. And I think that if I was making a tiny piece of that, that everybody I know would be compensated. Everybody I know, including my own family.
Please.
If I can expand on that a little bit, I think part of the frustration really isn't work, it's more to do with boxing. And most of you people know, we were supposed to work out the Andre Ward camp. And the guys there, the professional boxers, aren't going to box with us. And that's part of the problem here. They all want X amount of compensation, and Nick didn't get the boxing in for this one. Andre Ward got cut. He was out of the fight, so there was no training with Andre Ward, and there was no training in that whole camp over there with Nick Diaz. And I think that was one of the things he's very...
Yeah, well, if this is where we're going to do this, when you talk about boxing and what boxing means, there's a handful of guys that make Floyd Mayweather money. There's actually a couple guys that make Floyd Mayweather. There's two. You got Pacquiao and you got Floyd. And then the rest of the guys, there's thousands of guys that make nothing. And when you talk about being compensated for sparring, that is what you guys do. You guys set your camp, and then you build your camp and you bring guys in for sparring. Everybody does. That's what boxing does too. And yes, you might compensate your guys, and if you're fighting under the promoter and he pays for it, he takes that out of your check. If you don't show up for 6 flights, you miss 6 flights to show up for a press conference, the promoter charges you for those 6 flights. We don't. We pay for them. We take them on the chin every time you miss a flight, and the list goes on and on. Believe me, I've heard the arguments from the guys in the sport about boxing. If you're pissed off at what's going on here, go try boxing and see how that works out for you. What's Andre Ward making a fight?
I don't know what he's making, but
Yeah.
and I think we're going to the wrong direction.
No, I hear you, but
Our frustration is not to do with our tight circle, is what Nick is trying to say, but I think most people here don't know the whole story. Our frustration is with training partners coming over from boxing.
yeah,
We're trying to mesh the two together.
and the reality is when you get to a level that Nick Diaz is, I 100% get it. Who the hell wants to go over and spar with him? You get their head punched in for 5 rounds. Probably not many
Against
people.
an MMA fighter.
And
And I think
yeah,
part of the thing that's happening over where we're at.
I hear you. No, I hear you. When you get to that level, it's tough.